Hello rail fans and model railroaders. This week's video is going to be slightly different than the last. My wife and myself took a trip up to Carson City, Nevada to see her mother. We got up there a bit early, so we decided to take a trip to the Nevada State Railroad Museum. While not as impressive as the California State Railroad Museum, I still enjoyed it and felt it was well worth the money. You're seeing some of the shots here, like car number 17, which has a whole heck of a lot of woodpecker holes in the side of it. That car also carried Leland Stanford to Promontory Point for the Golden Spike ceremony, and I believe it also had something to do with women's suffrage in Nevada. I didn't get a good shot of the plate that sits in front of it explaining all of that, so I can't really say exactly what it was for. Online doesn't have a lot of good information about that particular subject for some unforeseen reason. And right around this corner, you're about to see the McKean motor car. This is probably my favorite exhibit at this place. This thing is just all kinds of weird. It's amazing. It's got a Caterpillar engine in it right now to replace the old McKean gas engine, which has been lost to history somewhere. But as you can see, it's got all of these portals on it, which are just amazing. I've never seen a rail car like it. This particular motor car has 33 of these portals in it, and apparently this is what the McKean Motor Company was known for. A lot of their products had these portals on it. Anyways, you can see some more of the stuff in the back shops here. And the epic exhaust that comes out of this thing. It would make a Honda owner cry if they saw this. Anyways, well, short and sweet. I enjoyed my time there and got to do a decent amount of looking, considering that there was barely anybody there on a Monday afternoon. Well, let's get down to business for this update. So, a lot of this got done off camera. I was kind of in the way of the camera the whole time. Couldn't really find a way to get the shot properly, so I just went ahead and did it. At some point, I'll end up doing a how-to with a little section of foam board, and I'll do a how to glue together the rocks as well as paint them and whatnot. One thing that I kind of had a hard time figuring out is where I wanted this located. I think it's going to be more or less located in western Kentucky. They kind of have a almost like strata type rock in some areas, but then in other areas they have whatever this type of rock is. I don't know the technical name for it. So I just kind of went with this because this is what looked best to me. My strata molds, I didn't really like them, so I have a whole bunch of extra stuff just over here for whatever project I need it for next. Maybe I'll use that for my tutorials. I figure I'll probably start doing some of the tutorials and walkthroughs after May when this project is submitted and no longer, causing me some stress. With that said, if you see anything that you want to know more about, just leave a comment below and I might do that for a Monday video. So here I am putting some of the filler in between the rocks. If you notice, there are quite a few gaps in there. One of the ways to do this is you mix up some rather thick plaster and then you kind of just force it into the cracks there, which is easier said than done. Luke Towan makes it look so simple to do. The method I tend to take with this is kind of just the brute force method. You get it into place and you just keep pushing it into where you need it to go. Wetting it a little bit, maybe taking a screwdriver or a chisel or a nail even, and you just kind of like put it into place and chip it out where there's a little bit too much. One thing with this process is you can very easily dull out some of the detail on the rock. However, once it's dry, if you get it in the proper tools, you can carve out what you need to make it look good again. The other thing is you can just carve while it's wet to kind of give you that proper transition. Proper cleanup is always very important, and this Dyson makes a very good shop vac. So now to make some Sculptamold, otherwise known as plaster cottage cheese. I tend to buy this stuff in bulk. It's a lot cheaper that way. I'll put the link to the website that I buy it from down in the description. So if you've never seen Sculptamold before, it's basically shredded toilet paper and plaster. And it kind of got a little bit hard to find for a while there. I don't know if it was related to the toilet paper issue or not, but it definitely did get hard to find. So again, I basically ignore the instructions that this stuff calls for. I basically mix it up so it's kind of like a real thick cottage cheese almost. Luke Towan has a pretty good explanation of the best way to mix it. In the words of Sam the cooking guy, and now we mix. So now it's time to fill in some of that negative space, although I realized about partway through this that if I left that all in there, it would take forever to dry up. As it is, even a thin layer of this stuff can take quite a while with a fan on it. So I realized I basically have to fill that in with some pink foam, kind of like I did behind the rocks. So now I have it filled in with some scrap polystyrene. It should make this whole process a lot quicker. The look I'm going here is for kind of the rocks to be up on the hillside a little bit. And down below, it's just kind of got to be this slanted rubble pile almost, like the rock had kind of chipped away and fallen down. So once all the cottage cheese kind of dries up a little bit, you want to go over it and smooth it. Now you're going to see right here some of the pink foam is pointing through. That's not a big deal. It's not going to show up too badly, especially once you paint it, you won't see it at all. But once it dries a bit, you can kind of just run your hand over it. Maybe you need to wet your hand a little bit, and you kind of want to just smooth out those really high points, those sharp, unnatural points. Otherwise, it's just not going to look natural or realistic. Granted, once you go over a lot of this with the ground foam and the dirt textures and stuff, it's going to look a whole lot more real no matter what you mess up. So just kind of make it look as best as you can. So I think I'm going to leave you with a overall panning shot of where I've got to this point. This is going to be the end of part 1, and I'm going to try and upload part 2 this weekend. The video is going kind of long at this point, and over the next part I'm going to cover painting. And this is where I get really excited because I get rid of this horrible to film pink foam. Really, this stuff is not easy to film. The camera kind of freaks out on the coloring. Anyways, Boulder Creek Yard out.